Okay, so today's webinar is all about 2Apply and is about conducting a 2Apply health check. My name's Alison, like I mentioned, and we also have the lovely Chris online to help out with any questions. In today's session, we're going to do a little bit of a spotlight on the 2Apply product itself. Now, if you are new to 2Apply or perhaps you haven't used 2Apply, this session still has benefit to you because you will understand a little bit about what you can use it for if you'd like to put it on for your business. We're then going to drill down and we're going to start auditing the things in 2Apply that you can customize for your agency, because that's the big, great benefit of 2Apply is everything can be built around you, your team, and your tenants. So all your workflows and all of your tools should be set up for you. And then we'll just have a quick look at the integration. So if you are using Inspect Real Estate with 2Apply and you are using Console Cloud, you just want to make sure that integration is on, again, reducing some manual data entry time for you and the team. Now, before we actually get started in the system, I will just throw out a quick poll while we have a few people joining us. We just want to know if you currently use 2Apply and if you've previously customized any of the parts of 2Apply in the system. So throwing it out there, have a look, answer it. If you don't feel like answering the poll, feel free to throw it into the chat box there. All right, we've got some people coming in now. Good to see that some of you guys have been looking at some of the customization you can do. It's absolutely key. You do want to make sure you are customizing the system. Predominantly 2Apply users on the webinar. Awesome. Okay, we'll just leave it for one more moment. And then it looks like no one's customized their tasks or their PDF summaries before. So I do know that we are going to get that out of today then. So let's get started with the content. Now I'm going to pop across to Inspect Real Estate and we're going to have a quick rundown of 2Apply for people who might not have used it or might not understand some of the benefits of 2Apply. Now, 2Apply itself is an application tool, and it's an application tool that provides a benefit to your prospective tenants and to your property managers. It provides a little portal, and here's a sample one here, where people can apply for properties that you have got online. That application then feeds seamlessly through to Inspect Real Estate. And because of the automation and the way you set your system, certain things can already start happening for you the minute applications are submitted. This could be your reference checks could be automated. Things like tasks could be automated. You have the power to do comparisons and shortlists and also customize things like opening cautions or money required or questions asked in your application. So whilst there are a wide range of application products over there, 2Apply gives you the control to customize how your tenants apply, gives your tenants the ability to use the same repeated application across multiple products, and it also gives you access to things like Find Me, which highlights potential tenants that might suit your properties. And of course, we have Tenant App, which is Inspect Real Estate's version of realestate.com, but is also integrated with 2Apply. So as people browse Tenant App, they'll automatically be prompted to apply for your properties. Now, with 2Apply, just having a look at some of the core features, there are the standard ways that people apply. So as people inquire or inspect properties based on all of that cool automation on Inspect Real Estate, email responses will go out with apply links or apply buttons, which may also be on your websites or your portals. But there are a few other cool ways you can get people to apply. Now, first off, I'm going to just quickly jump across to mobile ROL, and I hope you guys are all running your open homes through mobile ROL. When you've got an open home, straight away, as you're checking people off, you'll be able to see the status of their application. So for example, here we have Alex. He's already applied for this property. He has got a 2Apply profile. And as I'm working through mobile ROL, I should be doing things like shortlisting apps if I think he's a top tenant. I should be marking off if these people are applying or not, or already applied. Because the benefit of that is that all the customized messaging out the back goes to your tenants, and then that kind of directs them on their journey. And also send 2Apply links, and just a reminder, but as you save inspections, messages automatically go out with this. So if your team aren't using mobile ROL, if you're not using mobile ROL, really have a look into how you use it. We have plenty of content on this in the knowledge base because this is a really easy, seamless way to either invite people to apply, to shortlist their application, or to send them apply links. And if they're applying with 2Apply, you'll grab all of that information, you'll have it in your system, and all of those workflows will be built around you. Like I mentioned, it also comes on your tenant app. It will be on your portal. You can also send a manual application link. So under Create New, you can send an apply link, and you can send an application link to an individual about a particular property, or it can be agnostic. And we have our QR code. So if you haven't seen the QR code before, just under letting applications to apply QR code, I'm just going to pop it to one per page and hit preview. But this QR code is a way that tenants can scan and see available rental lists and applications. Now you might print this, you might put this on the front of your office, on the desk, you might embed it into your listing cards, or if you go for a little small one, so let's go for 8 per page. This is a really great tool to cut up, pop on the back of your property manager's phones as they're running open homes. If tenants are going, this isn't right for us, what else have you got? Or you know they're going to miss out on this one. This is a really good little tool for them to scan. So really good way to just have a lot of passive marketing around your opens and your available properties. So just a little recap for people who might be unfamiliar or might be new to 2Apply. Now, the other thing we're going to have a look at quickly before we start drilling down into that customization is how you choose to work with your applications. Now, this is something that, again, to think about it, think about your workflow, think about how your team process applications, and think about if you have one person doing all the pre-work before handing it to the property managers. Now, I'm going to pop down to applications. We've got two main areas here. We've got applications and we've got properties. So jumping into applications, this might be a very familiar list to you. This is the list of all applications across all properties. Now, if you have someone who sits here and reviews all the applications before handing it to the property manager, this might be where they choose to work. If they choose to work here, top tip, make sure they are customizing their view via the column chooser. Things should be turned on and off depending on what they choose to work through and depending on the high level information they need up front. So I might decide that I need to have, let's have a little look, status date on. I might need property rent and app rent on, or maybe I just want to do rent difference so I can see the difference on what they submitted versus what they got. I might want to see applicant comments or notes. I might want to see inspections, and I can pop any of that on and off and just hit save. I might also want to create customized views. So if you have, let's say Chris here sitting on the front desk, and Chris's job is to review all new applications as they come in, I might filter to all of my new, which in my system is wait. I might search it, and then 3 dots, I could save that. Now this could be Chris's search. Chris could sit here, he could click through ID by ID. He could then update the status as he goes. So if he has reviewed this one and goes, yep, all good, going to the property manager, he could then pop it into applied or with PM. And this comes to something we're going to look at a little while in the future, is how you customize your statuses, but you could have a status reviewed with PM. If Chris has a look at this one and goes, no, there's not enough information, he might pop it into more info required. And that gives him that list of things he can work through. Now I'm just going to clear search and I'm going to restore it back to its full list. Now, if you don't work that way, if you perhaps have your PMs reviewing everything together, or perhaps a better workflow for your team is to work property first, you'll come into applications and you'll work in the properties menu. Now, the properties menu right up front, streamlined view. So I can see it, the property, I can see how many current apps on the property, and I can see some high-level information about app age, rent, and available dates. Now, clicking through, I'm going to go and view the 4 apps, 102 Garden Street. And we're going to highlight a few things through here that is a benefit of working in this manner, and also is going to come back down to us when we get to our settings. Because all of this functionality that we're going to go through is something you probably need to make sure you've reviewed and updated. So I've got a few applicants here, and right away from the front screen, I can see things. I can see that this application is flagged. Something is perhaps not right with it. Perhaps I need to review it. Perhaps someone else has reviewed it and flagged it to me. I can see my income ratio. Now I've got a lot of information here that's telling me that my income ratio is unacceptable. This could be for many reasons. So for example, with Anna, straight away, she's got a different means of paying rent. Perhaps she is self-employed. Perhaps she lives off an inheritance, lucky duck, but she doesn't have active employment, and so her affordability is unknown. But perhaps I haven't set my income ratio correctly, and so I'm not getting a view on how successful these tenants would be at paying rent. I can also see things down here like owner approval. So if you're not using owner approval currently, would definitely look at putting in processes around getting owner approval and getting digital owner approval in, because that will date time stamp it. You'll have it in writing. The owner will have formally agreed to it. Really clear visibility over why you have chosen to put a tenant in there. Viewing references. So one of the cool things we can do is we can set up automatic reference requests. Now, you might want to consider what you automate, what you don't automate. But in the system, if you have automated reference requests in place, once a tenant submits an application, those reference requests go off. Whoever it sends to receives it, completes it, it comes back to inspect real estate, and we can see the results of that reference. Now that all happens without a property manager doing anything, without the lovely Chris who audits my applications doing anything. So it is one of those time-saving pieces. We can see notes. So we do want to make sure our notes are tracked. We can shortlist and we can view, which we will in a sec. But from the 3 dots, we can also do things such as create agent or owner summaries. Now, these are cool little things that provide a PDF of your application. And these PDFs can be customized at this point or customized in default. And we're definitely going to have a look at how you can customize it in default, because one of the things people don't review, and I am very guilty of this, is I'm in a hurry. The owner calls me, hey, can you send me a PDF of that application you were talking about? I'll go, no worries, click, 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 and I've generated a PDF. Perhaps what I haven't looked at is what is on that PDF, because you know what? Maybe I don't want to include identification document. Maybe I don't want to include financial details. Maybe I do want to include application answers. So you don't want to have your property managers or your leasing agents reviewing these again and again. You want to have it set as default, because anytime you can remove risk, you want to do it. And anytime you can save a minute, it scales up. If you've got 1,000 properties you lease over the course of a year, it's 1,000 minutes. So every little bit counts. Now we'll just pop back to our application list and a few other things you might want to do. If I bulk select, we have bulk shortlist. We also have our comparison. Here we go, comparison. And you can also customize what the comparison looks like. So you can customize what information goes in. You can customize if there's actions buttons. So again, just saving a bit of time as we move this out to your owners. You can also pop in email templates and contacts. So if you are looking at your workflows, you want to set up your statuses to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but there may be times you want to send manual messages, and those messages you do want to have set as templates. The other thing to think about is your workflow. So these statuses are powerful. These statuses can be built to work for you, but you do want to think about how you want to work. So in my workflow, as a new application comes in, they come into wait. And that's basically new application. Once I review it, if there is more information required, I want to pop it into more info required. Now, to show you what that looks like, that's going to open up a little status change wizard for me. It's going to ask me who I want to communicate with. Now I'm going to communicate with the owner. And it's going to pre-fill a template for me. Now, I've just popped the owner, but this would generally go to your tenant. And this one here is where you can add and customize information before you send it out. So I've set up my workflow so that when there is information required, I automatically open a template. I add the information that's missing. I say, please send this back to me, and I send it off. So that status there works for me there. I also have a status applied but not viewed. So in my account, and this is something you guys can think about, I have it set so people can apply before inspected, but I do want to keep track of if they haven't had an inspection, and I might pop them into apply but not viewed, which could kick off a workflow to invite them to upcoming inspections. Once I've sent it to for owner approval, it's now going to sit in the with owner status. So with owner, I can clearly see, yep, these are with the owner for review. I've set it so that when it's awaiting payment, say this is approved, waiting payment, it feeds through to my property management system. So it feeds through to console, and I can start the new tenancy onboarding process in console as well. Once it's paid, I'll update it to paid, and it also kicks off a few things for me. So it auto closes all of my applications. It also prompts the off list. So you do want these to work because this is going to be your workflow. This is going to be about your data tidiness. This is going to be about making sure that you close the loop with all of your prospective tenants. And then these ones are good ones as well, because as you review applications or as you review prospective tenants, there might be people who you go, yep, I would rent to you, not applicable at this time for certain reasons, but I would rent to you. Unsuccessful, good, you invite them to view other properties. Dodgy RAM comes through, you look at his information, you go, this guy is not good news. You might put him into unsuccessful, unsuitable, and then another message goes out separate to the unsuccessful good that says, thanks for your application, good luck on your journey. So everything can be built around your workflow. Now, the last thing I'll have a look at is I'll just pop straight into an application and we'll just have a chat through something else I would recommend customizing, and that is your tasks. Now, reviewing applications can be a bit of work, and if you are like me and very process-based, you might want to make sure you've got your tasks or your process built in. So in the example that I have someone checking my applications first, they might go through and go, yep, verified the identity, confirmed the income, confirmed current place of residency, haven't yet got a database check returned, but they have passed affordability. So now I can see straight away. Sorry about that, guys. My headset just turned off for a second. So now I can see straight away that Chris has done all of the work. He's completed a whole lot of ID clearing for me, and I still have one last thing to get back, and that is a database check. So with that, we're going to have a look now at how we can do some of this customization. I'm just going to close down a few of my tabs here. We're going to pop back into IRE. We're going to come down to our settings menu, and we're going to come down to our applications and general. Now, first things first, we are in our general tab, and this one here, allow tenants to apply before inspection. This is for our external IRE systems, so tenant app, etc. It allows you to choose whether you invite applications before inspection. Now, depending on the market, you can turn this on or off. This is something that may help you restrict the flow of tenants. So if you find that you're getting a lot of applications, 99% of them are junk, you might want to only have this on perhaps by exception, in which case you can say default off, and from the property you could turn it on, or you could just turn it off. But right now I have it currently set to allow everyone to apply. The other thing you might think about is acceptable income ratio. Now this is your affordability calculator. So this is about for you, what is the percentage of income you deem as acceptable per rent? So if rent is $100 a week and you want them to earn at least $300, so it's only 30% of their income, you want to pop that in here. If you find that a lot of applicants are coming in as orange or red, you might want to review that, because yes, it might be that they don't have enough income, but it also might be that your income ratio is slightly off for the market you're in. So always a good one to have a think about. Now, the other one I'm going to pull through here is our application tasks. This is where you can set up that checklist. Some people call them activity schedules, some call them workflows, some of them call them checklists. But there's a few different things we can put in place here. Now, these tasks definitely can be built around what you do. So for example, in this case, I might also put sent for owner approval, add task, sent new tenancy pack, approved only, add task. And you can customize the orders as well. So you can add them, change the order, and build that workflow out. It is a one size fits all. So if you are working across a lot of applications, I wouldn't recommend doing it for a property manager. I'd sit down with your PM team and I'd work out what tasks do we want, how do we want them to be customized, but then I'd put them in place, and it's a really clear, easy way to manage your workflow. Now, I'm sure you guys have all used database checks before. If you are using database checks and you're not having them integrated, I would definitely have a look at what options you have to integrate. Really easy way to request or review your database checks, and you can also use some automated database checks. So not going to go in too far here. A lot of people use a lot of different database checks, whether you use them or not, but definitely worth having a look at. Is it something I could integrate, and checking with our support teams? But we are going to come down to application summaries, because this is one that I highlighted earlier. Now, your application summaries, it could be your owner, it could be your agent, or it could be your comparison, tend to be one of those areas where people don't apply defaults across their database. And then we end up generating PDFs that have some personal information we don't want to share. Now, really easy. If you pop in, I'm going to go to my owner PDF, and I'm going to come down and have a look at what info's in there. Now, one thing I might remove, I'll remove financial support. I'll remove owner approval because I am sending it to the owner. I will remove ID document, and I might put in application answers. So I'm customizing what I want in there. If I select it, I might move this up. So I might put in application answers just under tenant info. I might put application info up top. I'll put my dependents and pet lists. Information requests I'll just remove. Unable to provide info I'll remove. And what I might also pop in is my pre-qualification answers. Nice and simple. So now I've removed a whole lot of risky things. I've kept it nice and simple. I'm giving high level information and I'm popping in those answers to questions that I've got on all of my applications. Can do a few other things. I can pick what I show and hide. So for example, I've got affordability ratio. I might hide living and financial summary. I could hide the contact details, which I definitely would, but just keep in mind that you do want to consider your legislation here. So we give you the tools, but make sure you're just not popping in anything there that could be risky. And that's the whole purpose of customizing the PDF summaries. So I'll hit save, and straight away I've standardized that summary and I've reduced a whole lot of risk at the same time. Might also want to do the application comparison because this is when we generate that comparison to send to your owner for approval. You might want to select what you pop in and pop out. So I'll go occupants, lease start, rent amount. I'll get rid of database checks. I'll let them know if they've inspected. I'll let them know if we've got reference checks. I'll pop in the affordability ratio, take out pets. I'll make sure there is an action button for my owner. And I'll pop in that owner summary PDF. Hit save, and now the comparison is also streamlined a little bit. So nice one to review. Definitely have a look at it after you get off today. Now, the other one we'll have a look at is our references. So references, like I mentioned earlier, can be automated to send out by type and event, and the questions can be reviewed. Now, the first part, you want to automate it to streamline your workload. So don't make your property managers send everything. Make them only send when you want additional references, in which case you can come to automatic requests. You can pick the event. So when an application is submitted, I would like to send it to the agent they rented from before. Staff member will be the sender and default staff attached. Hit add, and then that will automatically go out now. Can also customize the messages behind here. So like all of our messages in IRE, you've got a lot of control, but I've now created it so that my accountants, my employment references automatically send out, sends from the default staff member, and pops off. If I pop down to reference questions, this is where you can pick what reference questions you want included in there, whether it is automated or manual. So for example, with my agent landlord, my automated, I can pop down and pick what questions I want to include. Now, there are a lot of questions here. Would not recommend putting in a lot. The more questions, the lower the chance is that you will actually get an answer. So keep it simple, keep it focused, pay attention to what questions you would like. So for example, mine is date of agreement, can you confirm the rent, was it paid on time, did they care for the property? Always nodding out that there are certain things you can and you can't ask dependent on your state. So just keep that in mind and keep it as simple as possible. Just flipping through, ticking on what you want, what you don't want, and then hitting save. So nice and simple. And just in your 2Apply section, one of the things I mentioned earlier is that you can put in your opening cautions, you can put in required money and terms and conditions. That's all done under your 2Apply section. So as you come through, if you wanted to change your opening cautions, you could click in, type in your opening cautions. If you wanted to change your required monies fields, you could pop in here and change that as well as add any text. Terms and conditions. You could also pop that in. Now we do have some default text in there, but you can also pop in any additional terms, property terms, etc. And you can also customize your field visibility. So what you want to show, what you don't want to show. So really clear, really easy thing to customize. Spend a little time going through it to customize what your tenant sees, and then work through what is important to your business. So in our general section, application tasks, how do I want my workflow to be? If I go down to my application summaries, what do I want to be default included in these PDFs? How can I eliminate risk? How can I reduce the amount of manual work the team do? In my references, what do I want to automatically send out? So do I want to automate certain requests? Maybe not all of them, but maybe I want an employment reference, previous landlord, etc. Reference questions, how can I keep it simple but also effective? What is important to me to understand? And this could be for your automatic or your manual. So all of these, nice and customizable, all of them under settings and applications, and can be built in. Now, the other side is your statuses and messages. Now, messaging, I saw earlier in the poll, we have a lot of people who have customized their messages. Fantastic. Hoping that at some point there as well, you've also looked at customizing the statuses you use. As we saw earlier, and as I walked through earlier, every time I change a status, it's based on a part of my workflow and it kicks off something else in the system, whether it is a communication to the tenant, to the owner, to the agent, whether it is an integration, so an integration with MoveMeIn or with Console Cloud. The key thing as we go through this is don't overcomplicate it, keep it simple, and just focus on what you want the system to do for you and how you can remove your manual work. So we're going to start with the basics of our messaging, and then we're going to look at our status rules. So we're going to come through to messages, we're going to come through to applications, status and applications. Now I'm just going to focus on current and complete. All those statuses I worked through earlier sit in here. So a new application comes in, the status is wait. If I don't like that name, I can change it just by going new app, hit save, and that changes that status name. I can edit the message, so I can come across and edit it. I can update any expectations, so I can perhaps set expectations. Your application will be reviewed within 2 business days. And I can pick whether I want an email or an SMS to go out. So try not to overdo it. Try not to send too much communication, but think about what you want. After the new app, I then have the status more info required. Now, this is one where I had it in because 9 times out of 10, maybe not so much with 2Apply, as 2Apply does allow a lot of information capturing. But 9 times out of 10, particularly on the old-fashioned applications or the paper applications, which some of our states are having to work with, we don't have enough information. Perhaps we're missing something. Perhaps we need to ask for more. And this status here allows us to ask for more. Now, this one is one where you also want to edit the message. You can click into it. We can then update all of the information in that message. And the key thing as well is if you are going to ask for us to then put further information in there, you might want to make sure you've got it in big, bold, highlighted areas that add what is missing in this email before you send it off. Now, looks like my internet is just slowing down a little bit here. So we'll give it a little bit of time and we'll just check in on the chat just to call out if there are any questions. on the chat. Ah, looks like Chris is all over it. So nice to see. Now, I am going to just respin the internet connection here for us, and then we'll keep going. Okay, let's kick her back up. Oh, it looks like we are having a few little speed test problems. So give me one moment and we'll get this sorted again for you. Alrighty. Looks like we are back in. Beautiful. Okay, so just to recap, in the statuses in the messages section, you can name the status, you can update how it gets sent out, you can put it in a certain order in your status dropdown. So I would recommend that order is the order in which you process. So 1, 2, 4, 5, etc. You can update the content. If you are looking to update content for something where you need to manually add in information, make sure it is very clear to whoever sends it. So let's go select. We could format the text. We could highlight it, making it very clear that this needs to be done. We can hit save to save it. And we can also add another status. So if you, for example, have your friend Chris at the start reviewing everything, you might want to pop in a status for when it is with the PM. So let's pop in the order 3 status with property manager. I'm going to turn it on for the email. External status is going to be processing, and then I'd want to pop in that communication. So we'll go owner, agent, I should say. We'll make sure we pop in the merge fields. We'll make sure we pop in the content, and then we'll hit save. You don't want that, or you're not ready to go ahead with that status, you hit remove. Okay. And you can also disable it. So if you did want to disable a particular status, perhaps someone got a bit creative a few years ago, just hit disabled and it will remove the status from your workflow. Under complete, these are the statuses that indicate that the app is no longer an active application. So we have our paid, we have our unsuccessful good, unsuccessful unsuitable, and our withdrawn. And again, if I was to pop into these ones here, like our unsuitable, you can see that there is a difference in messaging. This one is very to the point, unsuccessful good, very much inviting them to continue to apply. So start with your messaging, make sure it's reviewed, make sure you're happy with your statuses, and if you want to add another status, you can add a status, you can put it in the order, and then you can build out the messaging you want to go around it. So that's step 1. Step 2 is our status rules. So we're going to come back to where we were. We're going to go to settings, application, status rules. And this is where you build out all that automation. So when event A happens, I want Spect Real Estate to do B, C, and D. So starting up the top, there is a rule we can apply where when one application status changes, it will automatically change the status for all other applications. Now, in this case, for me, it's paid. That's my final status. When it's paid, I want every other application to automatically go into unsuccessful good, inviting them to apply to other properties, other listings on my website. The other one we have here, update application pending. So this one is something that you might choose to use if you don't want to display inspection times, or you have an application that's really just waiting payment, and perhaps you don't want to advertise people to still apply or still inspect this property. You can pop in a status rule here. So mine is waiting payment, just kind of hides the property from inspections. The other one here is our application limit. So application limits by default set in your system, but you might decide that when something goes to waiting payment or when it goes to paid, you want to put an application limit to 0. This will prevent any new applications. This shouldn't be a problem if you're managing your statuses and off listing, but if there is a long period of time between waiting payment and paid, you might want to pop one in. Now this one is quite important, update status notification rules. So sometimes there are messages that you want to review and update before it leaves Inspect Real Estate. Our more info required is a key example because before I send it to the applicant, I want to add in what is missing. So this rule indicates that before I send out that more info required template, I am going to have that ability to review it. I'm going to have that ability to change the template. And I might want to do the same for with owner. So if I pop in with owner here, it will be exactly the same. As I push it to with owner, I'll be able to review the message. I'll be able to say, here are your 2 applications as discussed. Please review, action, approve, and cut send back. Now, just continuing down, some key ones I will point out without going too far in depth. You send reference requests. If you don't want to use automated reference requests, if you'd rather review the application and then send requests, you can build a specific status, send reference requests. You can build a message around them, and then you can create a status rule that when you change it to send reference requests, it will send references out. And again, just via the add rule, and then when it changes to that particular status, you can send, for example, your employment history or your property history reference out. Just delete that one there. And then all the way down, trigger off list, really important. You don't want to have to manually off list your properties. So as soon as you have a property with an application that's finalized, gone through to Console Cloud or to whatever property management software you use, update the status to paid or complete or whatever yours is, you then trigger the off list. So don't leave your off list hanging around. And then we're going to keep on scrolling down. And the last one here is just that send application to Console Cloud. Now with this one, this is just part of our Reapit integrations, which we will have a quick look at after this. And this one just says that when an application status changes to waiting payment, that will shoot it through to Console Cloud. Console will pick the application up. I'll start the new tenancy process and it will pull all the information from Inspect Real Estate. So it will pull through key dates, it will pull through key contact information, and it will give me 5 seconds of data entry on the other side. So definitely review these, make sure they're working for you, make sure you've got the right statuses that work for you. And if you come into your letting, your applications, and you look at an application, and from the status bar, you've got 12, 13, 14 statuses here that aren't relevant, start cleaning them out. Remove them from the messaging, remove them from your rules, streamline it down so you've only got the statuses that are important to you and your team. Okay, looks like we have not a huge amount of questions coming through. So I'll pop on to the last thing and then we'll do a little recap. And the last thing is just your property management integration. So if you're using Console Cloud, definitely get it integrated just under Reapit integrations. And in Console, you do have it in your marketplace and in Inspect Real Estate. Make sure you turn it on. Sends application data across, sends your application summary across as well, so the PDF. And you can receive property data. So you can pull through owner and tenants for all that automated communication around your lettings. So turn it on, makes it easy because if I get to the final stage of an application, I'm ready to send it to Console Cloud. I want to be able to put it into a status that shoots that data across. And then when I get to Console Cloud, I don't have a lot of work to do. Alrighty. So we have gone through a lot and we have gone through a lot of settings, and there's probably a lot of things for you to think about from here. The key thing to think about is your workflow and how you choose to work. These statuses need to have meaning and they need to be relevant for what you guys want to see. Now, Samantha has just popped something into the chat there that is actually a really good tip. The statuses don't have to trigger anything. They are for your reference. They are a visual tool for you. So if you have statuses that you don't need to have messages, you don't have to have messages going out to them. The other thing to think about is if you have got it into your workflow around things like marking your applications as flagged or checked, because that will also date time stamp it. And that will mean from the front page, if I was refreshing things, I can see clearly where my applications are. So I can see them if they're flagged, I can see them if they're checked. Now, few things to also look at aside from your messaging in your status application, status rules, in your references, what you would like to automate, and can't say it enough, your application tasks and your application summaries. I'm going to pop back to my slides and we're going to pop through one last poll. While I pop out the poll, just finding out if what you thought of today. The lovely Chris is going to pop in a survey. That survey is on our training, what you would like to see in our upcoming sessions. And if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat now because we will be around for another few minutes just to help out with any questions. I will call out while they get down that anything we've covered today, yes, it's high level, yes, it's a webinar, but all of it sits in our help center. So if you go away and go, I want to now customize my PDF reports, jump in the help center. We have documents on it, and we also have our Academy platform that's there to help you. If you get stuck, just reach out to us. support@inspectrealestate.com.au, the lovely girls on the other side, and guys, and then of course our training team. So the training team, training@inspectrealestate.com.au, always here to help you out with anything. So reach out, we're happy to help get you started. Looks like tasks and PDF reports were the top feedback. So nice one, guys. Thank you. And really important you invest the time to make sure that the system works for you. It's the power of 2Apply. It's the power of 2Apply with Inspect Real Estate. But you want to make sure it's working for you, not you having to work through endless amounts of unnecessary admin. Okay, so definitely building tasks, customizing your PDF reports were our tops. So thank you all very much for coming. If you need any help, just jump down to your help center, reach out to our teams. You can always get onto us, and we look forward to having you in our next webinar. So big thank you for today. Any final questions, pop them into the chat and we'll help out. Big thanks to Chris as well.